What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, September 29th, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 14:19 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the US and from Europe. So, Trump has reportedly approved the deliveries of Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine and has authorized their use on targets deep inside of Russia. This was confirmed by Keith Kellogg on Fox News. Keith Kellogg is a former general, and he's the special envoy to Ukraine for the Trump administration. Okay, so this is very, very serious news. Also, we're hearing that Ukraine is in the middle of preparing to sign a mega deal with the United States worth $90 billion. According to Politico, it also will include long-range weapons such as the Tomahawk missiles. Okay, so a $90 billion mega deal with the U.S. Ukraine is about to sign it. It's going to include various types of advanced weapons, especially long-range advanced weapons like the Tomahawk missiles. And Keith Kellogg and various sources are now reporting that Trump has approved Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine and authorized their use deep inside of Russia. This is huge news, okay? And the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov put out a statement this morning. He said Russian military specialists are monitoring the issue of potential deliveries of American long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Okay, so Russia is concerned enough about it that they are now devoting their intelligence sources, their intelligence specialists, to monitor the deliveries. Okay, very serious. And the Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko threatened a full-scale war with Poland if Poland shoots down Russian fighter jets near Kaliningrad, warning that Belarus will not stand aside if NATO takes action. Okay, so that is very, very serious news. Also, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday ordered the conscription of 135,000 men by the end of 2025, the largest conscription drive in 9 years. During the autumn of 2016, Putin ordered the conscription of 152,000 men. In the 3 years since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it has drafted an average of 127,000 men every fall. Russia's spring 2025 draft called up 160,000 men, the highest since autumn of 2011. Wow, guys. Okay, so in the spring, they called up 160,000 men, the most in 15 years. And now they're calling up another 135,000 men, the most in 9 years. Okay, so obviously Russia is preparing for some kind of big military offensive. What that is, I don't know. Okay, but you're not calling up record numbers of troops just to maintain the current front lines. Okay, they're increasing the number of forces for some reason. This is very, very concerning. And we're now hearing from the Danish TV station TV2 that Danish reserve soldiers have been urgently called in for duty due to the drone situation in Danish airspace, according to a confidential call-up obtained by TV2. Okay, so Danish reserve forces are now being called up. And I want to remind you guys that Poland has deployed tens of thousands of troops to the border of Belarus and Russia already. Okay, and we're hearing that the French Foreign Legion arrived in Poland. Finland is sending troops to the Baltics. France is deploying over 2,000 troops to Romania. So guys, we are building up to World War III, okay? And in case you didn't hear the big news this week, there's going to be this all generals meeting at Quantico, Virginia, requested by Hegseth and Trump. Okay, Hegseth is the Secretary of War of the U.S. And remember, they renamed the Secretary of Defense to the Secretary of War and the Department of Defense to the Department of War. I mean, they're basically telling us what their intentions are. Okay, calling every general from every nook and cranny around the world into Virginia. You don't do that for no reason, especially because a lot of these generals are flying in from conflict zones, high tension areas like the Korean Peninsula, the Middle East, Africa, okay? So they wouldn't be calling hundreds and hundreds of generals and commanders and admirals for no reason, okay? Officially, they're saying to discuss warrior ethos, which is just complete BS. And we're now hearing that Trump is going to be attending this all generals meeting. So it sounds to me like they want all the generals in Quantico because they want to discuss and agree on various war plans related to all the different theaters, and potentially there may be a world war that's about to break out on multiple fronts. You know, China may attack Taiwan at the same time that Russia attacks Poland and the Baltics and Europe. And maybe Iran is going to attack our bases in the Middle East, and the Taliban is going to be attacking our bases, and Al-Qaeda and ISIS are going to be carrying out attacks here in the U.S., and maybe Venezuela is going to start attacking our bases in the Caribbean and along the Gulf of America and harassing our ships in the Caribbean and in the Gulf. Okay, so this could get ugly really quick, and they want all the generals in person to discuss war plans and contingencies, okay? And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to talk about the Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine and various military options for Ukraine. I think Trump at this point has completely flip-flopped from trying to make peace with Russia to now trying to basically topple Putin and eliminate Putin and basically wear out the Russian war machine. That's, I think, what his plan is, okay? Because he said it multiple times last week that Russia is basically on its last leg economically, that there's a lot of losses that they're incurring on the battlefield, that they're not gaining any land. He said that multiple times. Okay, so, and he said that he thinks Ukraine can take back all of the land that Russia took, including Crimea. So this is a huge turning point, and this is historic. We're witnessing history unfold right now. Our grandkids are going to be learning about this in grade school, okay? And right now we have U.S. nuclear forces on very, very high alert. I've never seen this kind of activity on a normal, peaceful Monday afternoon. There's really nothing crazy going on right now. There's no big attacks anywhere on Ukraine or something in the Middle East. We have a presidential doomsday plane looping over eastern Nebraska. We have a Cobra Ball missile detecting and tracking plane over the Dakotas. We have two E-6 Mercury nuclear war command and control planes up in the air right now. Those planes are responsible for communicating with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines. And most interestingly, something I have actually never seen in my career as a YouTube news correspondent, are these two B-1 Lancers. These are strategic bombers, possibly nuclear capable. These used to be part of our nuclear bomber force. And remember, guys, under the Biden administration, Russia pulled out of the New START treaty, and Trump has not re-entered into the New START treaty. So it's very possible that these B-1 Lancers have been rearmed with nuclear weapons, or at least the special delivery system on these B-1s has been refitted to be able to accept the nuclear bombs and missiles that they would have accepted years ago before the Obama START treaty that was signed in 2012. Okay, and what's very interesting about these planes is they took off from Grand Forks, which is not too uncommon, but look where they're flying. They're doing these loops here right over Cold Lake, Alberta. Do you guys know what's in Cold Lake? Okay, Cold Lake is where the Canadian F-18 interceptors are located for intercepting Russian nuclear cruise missiles flying towards the U.S. They're part of NORAD's network of interceptors in Canada. They also have a base in eastern Canada as well, okay, in Quebec and Ontario, but this is the main base for Canada's F-18 interceptors. That their main job for NORAD is, if NORAD detects cruise missiles coming from Russia, these F-18s would take off and try to shoot down those cruise missiles, okay? These are nuclear-armed cruise missiles that would be launched by Russian bombers by the hundreds, okay? So these F-18s would have their hands full shooting down all these cruise missiles, all right? So for these B-1s to be looping over here near Cold Lake is very, very concerning, and suggests this could potentially be some kind of nuclear war exercise by the United States, okay? And here you can see a screenshot from earlier showing the two B-1s, the Doomsday plane, and the two nuclear war command and control planes, and also the Cobra Ball. And here you can see the two B-52s that are airborne right now over Louisiana. Both of them took off from Shreveport, which is home of Barksdale. That's the home of the U.S. Air Force Global Strike Command. That's the command of our air leg of our nuclear triad. So U.S. nuclear forces are on high alert yet again. We also have some very serious news coming out of the Pentagon. Apparently, the Pentagon is now pushing manufacturers of missiles to significantly boost production of 12 critical weapons, including Patriot missile interceptors, the SM-6 missiles, long-range anti-ship missiles, the JSAM long-range cruise missiles that are launched from fighter jets, and the PRSM, the precision strike missiles. So guys, this is very serious because all of these missiles would be used by NATO and Ukraine against Russia, okay? And the Pentagon is saying that manufacturers are being queried on how to achieve a 2.5 times increase in output within the next 6 months to 24 months, with options like private capital and licensing being explored, okay? So they want 2.5 times the output from manufacturers, okay? Patriot missiles, SM-6, those are interceptor missiles as well. They can intercept medium-range ballistic missiles like the Oreshniks. Patriot missiles, which are short-range missile interceptors for cruise missiles, and short-range ballistic missiles like Scuds. That's where they really cut their teeth with the Patriots, was in the Gulf War. They shot down over 90% of Saddam Hussein's Scud missiles. Then the long-range anti-ship missiles, which are used by NATO forces to protect their coastlines from Russian ships. The JSAM missiles, which are 500-mile cruise missiles with a very large warhead that Poland has stockpiled by the thousands, okay, and they're going to give these to Ukraine as well. They have a longer range than even the Storm Shadows, okay? They're like a longer range Storm Shadow. And then the PRSM, which is the new ATACMS missile that's launched from HIMARS, okay? They can go, I think, several hundred miles. They have double the range of the ATACMS even, okay? And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link. It's in the description below this video. It's preparewithNYPrepper.com. So they're selling their 3-month emergency food kit at 30% off. Plus, they're going to throw in an additional month of food. So that's 4 months of food. And the normal price would be $944. And they're selling it at just under $700 for 4 months of food. And this food has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all packed into rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space in your home. And the food is obviously nutritious, which is very important for surviving any kind of SHTF situation. You can also use this food for camping and traveling. But use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get a free month of emergency food with your 3-month emergency food kit from NYPrepper Supply, all at 30% off, just $700 for 4 months of food. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get the deal, and the link is in the description below this video. So this is very concerning. The buildup to World War III is ongoing. We also have some very concerning news coming out of Romania this morning. The Ministry of Defense of Romania posted this press release saying that they found remnants of a drone today in the area of Santa Nua Canal in Tulcea County. The existence of drone fragments was reported by calling the 112 service. A mixed team made up of specialists from the Ministry of Defense, the Romanian Intelligence Service, and the Border Police are conducting research on site with fragments to be removed for expert examination. I don't know why they need all these experts, okay? It's pretty clear. You don't need to be an expert to know that this was a Russian drone that blew up on Romanian soil, okay? And I want to just play this clip for you of Keith Kellogg talking about the Tomahawk missiles and the long-range authorization by Trump for Ukraine. Take a listen.
Just want to clarify. Are you saying, though, that it is the president's position that Ukraine can conduct long-range strikes into Russia, that has been authorized by the president?
I think reading what he has said and reading what Vice President Vance has said, as well as Secretary Rubio, the answer is yes. Use the ability to hit deep. There are no such things as sanctuaries. That's one of the reasons I believe that this last week, and it has been confirmed, that President Zelensky asked President Trump to get Tomahawk missiles, which give you a depth. They're really good systems. America makes the best systems in the world.
Are we giving him the Tomahawks?
Well, that decision has not been made, but he's asked. I know that President Zelensky did, in fact, ask for them, which was confirmed by a social media post by Vice President Vance. That's going to be up to the president to do it.
Okay.
So very serious news, guys. We are watching the beginning stages of a full-on hot war between the great military powers on planet Earth. And here we have video footage coming out of Estonia. Over the last couple of days, the U.S. Army has been moving dozens and dozens of tanks and heavy equipment to Estonia. Look at all these M1 Abrams here. This is just a very short clip, okay, but massive amount of equipment being moved to Estonia. Here's a railroad yard where all these heavy equipment pieces are being moved. Okay, you got Bradleys here and M1 Abrams. This is very, very serious, guys. Okay, And apparently the Russians refused both a bilateral meeting with the Ukrainians and a trilateral meeting with Trump, according to Vance. I'm going to play a clip for you from Fox News Sunday. Here's what he had to say.
You ask what's changed. I think what's changed is the reality on the ground where the Russians are killing a lot of people. They're losing a lot of people. They don't have much to show for it. We remain committed to peace, but it takes two to tango. And unfortunately, what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the Russians have refused to sit down with any bilateral meetings with the Ukrainians. They've refused to sit down with any trilateral meetings where the president or some other member of the administration could sit down with the Russians and the Ukrainians. So,
okay, so that's what Vance said. And here we have a picture from the NATO generals meeting. So last week in Latvia, there was a NATO generals meeting. All the generals in NATO were present. And now this week, the U.S. is doing a generals meeting, okay, which is very concerning. And here we have a picture of a U.S. Arleigh Burke guided missile destroyer that has been deployed off the coast of Denmark over the weekend after all of the drone sightings and airspace closures due to Russian drones, okay? We also know that a Russian warship and several Russian tankers, part of Russia's Shadow Fleet, were spotted off the coast of Denmark when these drones were sighted, okay? So now the U.S. has moved an Arleigh Burke destroyer, guided missile destroyer, which could either have Patriot missiles on board, Tomahawk missiles on board, okay, which are either offensive or defensive missiles, a wide variety of capabilities with this ship, but they would not move this for no reason, okay? Clearly there's a threat to Denmark, okay? And last night we had a massive amount of U.S. Air Force refueler planes fly across the Atlantic to Britain. They landed at Mildenhall. And what's concerning about these refuelers is that these refuelers have been associated with prior U.S. military combat actions, including the bombing of Iran a few months ago, and during the Iran-Israel exchanges during the Biden administration. These planes were sent to the Middle East to refuel all the fighter jets that the U.S. and allies were using to shoot down all the Iranian missiles that were flying towards Israel. If you remember that first big attack of drones and missiles, when they shot pretty much everything down, these planes were involved in that, okay, and they were also involved in the bombing of Iran. So these are combat-tested units that are going to the UK. One of them, Blue 41, is associated with bombers and fighter jets refueling them, okay? And here you can see the screenshot of them landing in Mildenhall, okay? So this is another preparation for war with Russia. Also, it looks like there's some kind of important meeting going on in Belarus today, because late last night and early this morning we had VIPs land in Minsk from Russia, Azerbaijan, and at least Kazakhstan. Those are the three that I saw on Flight Tracker. Here you can see a Russian presidential VIP plane landing in Minsk, or at least executive level VIP plane, an Azerbaijani VIP plane, and a Kazakhstan VIP plane. Now all those countries are part of the CSTO, which is like a Russian NATO, okay? So maybe they're having some kind of an emergency meeting because we're about to go to war with them, okay? And also we had a U.S. Navy sub-hunter do an intense patrol off the coast of Kaliningrad near Poland, near the port of Gdańsk in Poland. That's Poland's largest port. That's where Poland receives most of their shipping, through the port of Gdańsk, which happens to be right next to Kaliningrad. Okay, so this U.S. Navy sub-hunter was flying really low. You can see the lime green color. It was flying really, really low there, and then it went up to Estonia. And then also last night we had a Swedish reconnaissance plane right off the coast of Kaliningrad as well. So things are really brewing up, guys. And a classified U.S. military intelligence report seen by ABC News says China is rapidly building up the country's commercial ferry fleet to prepare for an invasion of Taiwan. So they're converting these commercial ferries as into troop carriers and equipment carriers to do beach landings, okay? And Zelensky said that there's intelligence data that the Russians are using tankers to launch drones towards European countries. And Denmark scrambled 2 F-35 fighter jets over Bornholm Island yesterday due to reports of drones. And the U.S. has deployed 4 more THAAD missile defense systems in Israel, increasing the total from 6 to 10, according to recent satellite imagery. And guys, the breaking news is not stopping here. A missile fragment damaged the consulate of Poland's embassy in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv during a major Russian air attack on Sunday. Russia launched a 12-hour-long attack on Kyiv, launching hundreds of drones and missiles. Polish Foreign Ministry spokesman Paweł Wroński confirmed the building had been hit and stressed that no one had been injured. A fragment of the missile damaged the roof, the same one that was renovated after the previous such attack. The losses are minor, but their assessment is still ongoing. He told the Polish press agency no one was hurt. The embassy's operations were not interrupted, he said. Earlier, Wroński said the building appeared to have been hit by a small caliber projectile or part of one. The object crashed through the roof and landed in the building's kitchen, he added. Okay, so this is the second time that supposed Russian missile fragments landed on the Polish consulate building. Okay, I don't think that was an accident, guys. I think Russia is trying to scare Poland and get them to remove their consulate from Ukraine, okay? And earlier on Sunday, people in eastern Poland reported hearing fighter jets in the air near the Ukrainian border despite no Russian attacks ongoing on western Ukraine or even in any part of Ukraine. Very, very interesting. And the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, citing well-informed sources, warned of the threat of a new attack on Iran by Israel and the U.S. And Ukraine will receive its first Swedish fourth-generation Gripen fighter jets. Deputy Defense Minister of Ukraine Gavryluk announced additional deliveries of F-16s and French Mirage jets are also expected. Guys, the F-16s and the French Mirage 2000s are both nuclear-capable platforms, okay? They can be used to deliver the B-61 nuclear gravity bomb, so keep that in mind. And Ukraine struck an important power plant in Russia, causing blackouts in Belgorod, and they used HIMARS rockets apparently. And there were some rare test counts on the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency yesterday, including Diego Garcia and Offutt Air Base. Very interesting. Diego Garcia is where we moved the stealth bombers to before we bombed Iran, and Offutt Air Base is the home of U.S. Strategic Command. You don't really hear them do test counts too much, okay? And an unidentified drone came within roughly 50 meters of a commercial passenger jet operated by Transavia Airlines that was attempting to land earlier today at the Amsterdam airport in the Netherlands, leading to the temporary closure of the runway, and inbound flights were diverted to other airports in northwestern Europe. Sorry, this was yesterday, not today. Okay, so drones at the Amsterdam airport. And Danish forces deployed a Zenta counter-drone radar system to the Copenhagen airport following recent unauthorized drone activities. There were also drones spotted in northern Norway on Saturday night. Apparently, a flight was diverted to Trondheim after a drone was spotted inside the no-fly zone at Brønnøy Sund Airport. Now, interestingly, that area is where Norwegian P-8 Poseidons take off from when they fly up to Murmansk to spy on Russia's northern fleet. So, interesting. And the German Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt said he was considering revising airspace safety laws to allow the military to shoot down suspicious drones over Germany. Okay, and we already know that Poland is revising their law on shooting down Russian military targets over other countries, not just Polish airspace. Okay, so what they want to do is they want to start shooting down Russian missiles and drones over Ukraine. Okay. And during the large Russian attack on Kyiv on Saturday, Warsaw's largest airport was closed, and also two major international airports in southeastern Poland were closed as a precaution. Poland said that the Netherlands deployed F-35s and German Patriot missiles were used to guard Poland's airspace during that attack. And Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is still running on emergency backup power supplies. This is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, and it has lost all external power supply. It's now running on backup power, guys. This could be catastrophic. And last week, a large number of Polish military cargo planes flew to Sweden's Gotland Island for a joint exercise that is considered to be unprecedented, the largest joint Swedish-Polish exercise ever. And what's interesting is I don't think this is an exercise, guys. I think that's a deployment disguised as an exercise. And Sweden and Finland have deployed a brigade near the border with Russia. The multinational unit is based in the Lapland region, according to Iltalehti, citing NATO sources. The core of the brigade consists of Swedish units from the Norrbotten Mechanized Brigade, known for its training in combat under harsh winter conditions. To speed up the unit's readiness, weapons, including Swedish Archer self-propelled howitzers, have already been pre-positioned in Lapland. Air support will be provided by British Eurofighters and F-35s, as well as Apache attack helicopters. In addition, up to 7,000 Finnish soldiers are permanently stationed directly next to the new brigade. According to sources, this force buildup is coordinated so that the total number of troops in the direction matches the number of Russian units deployed near the border. So massive NATO buildup in the Lapland, the northern Arctic region of Finland. Okay, very, very serious. And Moldova's pro-Europe party has retained majority in the Moldovan parliament by a very narrow margin. And Israel may launch a new attack on Iran within 3 months if the current trends continue, according to Farzin Nadimi, a senior fellow at the Washington Institute for Middle East Policy, who spoke recently with Iran International. Interesting. And the U.S. Secretary of War has announced the immediate call-up of 200 National Guardsmen with the Oregon National Guard into federal service for a period of at least 60 days against the wishes of the governor of Oregon, placing them under the control of U.S. NORCOM, Northern Command, okay? So these are probably going to be deployed to Portland, all right? And then finally, there was a shooting at a Mormon church yesterday in Michigan. Apparently, the shooter was a 40-year-old Marine veteran who served in Iraq. Thomas Jacob Sanford was named by authorities as the man who rammed a Silverado truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, before opening fire on the hundreds of worshipers gathered there. Sanford then allegedly set the building on fire before being killed by responding officers. Police said they believe Sanford used an accelerant, likely gasoline, to start the fire. Wow. Okay, so this is really bizarre. I don't know if he was radicalized by ISIS or Al-Qaeda, but this is very, very bizarre. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back tonight, probably around 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's 2200 to 2300 hours Eastern Time tonight with a live update and live monitoring. So I'll see you guys then, and until then, you can check out my live stream for continuous updates by my wonderful moderators who hang out in the chat throughout the day. Homesteading DIY, Ross Snyderman, Soil Operator. Okay, so tune into my 24/7 live stream if you want updates. You can also listen to our nuclear forces in the background. But until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.